This is convening of the Massachusetts Gaming Commission. We just finished up an agenda setting meeting. It's 11:01 a.m. on October 2nd, 2024. We're holding this meeting virtually, so we will do a roll call. Good morning, Commissioner O'Brien.
Good morning, still here.
Good morning, Commissioner Hill.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioner Skinner.
Good morning.
I'm Jordan Maynard. I'm serving as interim chair. With that said, we have 3 matters expected for today. We're going to start with Director Teresi from the Sports Wagering Division, understanding that we have a presentation of the Sports Wagering Operators Q2 quarterly reports. I have been notified that one of our operators, DraftKings, does have a scheduling error or issue rather, and they would like to move forward first. I am okay with that if Director Teresi and my fellow commissioners are. And with that, I'll kick it to Director Teresi.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Chair. No problem with that from our end, and I will actually just turn it right over to Manager Boschman here.
Hi, Crystal.
Hello, good morning. So yes, I think that we are going to kick off with DraftKings today, and then we can return to the rest of the order if that's what you guys prefer. I do see Jake and Rich here, so I will turn this right over to them. They can share their screens and get the presentation going.
Good morning, Jake and Rich.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity for the presentation. I will share my screen in a moment, but just to do quick introductions, as usual, I'm joined by Christina Akis, VP of HR, Jared Hess, our Director of Communications, and Julie Hines, our Responsible Gaming Senior Manager.
All right, and I will say, Commissioners, it's on packet page 36 in my pack.
And with that, I will share screen. Okay, can everyone see my screen?
We can see it.
Sorry, Commissioner Maynard, I think you're on mute, but yes, everyone can see my screen?
Yes,
okay.
You're good to go.
Okay, jumping straight into revenue. So for Q2 2024, DraftKings generated $73,518,821 of sports wagering revenue, and that resulted in taxes collected of $14,282,888 at a hold rate of 8.5%. And then moving to workforce diversity, I'll pass it over to Christina.
Hello, good morning. So really continuing to work on intentional diversity recruitment efforts from, expanding the corporate partners that we're working with, and even expanding our campus recruitment efforts to include diversity-based organizations like student organizations, and even starting to embark on some student athlete initiatives. We've been really successful in continuing to diversify our workplace. Right now, we have seen all of those intentional workforce efforts contribute to 42% of our year-to-date new hires identifying as non-white within the U.S. and 33% identifying as women. From a female representation standpoint, our goal for 2025, or to get to 2025, is actually at 35%, and currently globally, females make up 27% of our global workforce. I will say here, with recent mergers and acquisitions, we need to kind of look at what the goal is. It has kind of tweaked some of our numbers just based off of headcount from some of the other companies. So we're just going to look a little bit deeper there, but also look at some more intentional succession planning from a leadership standpoint as well, because as you know, We do have a women in leadership role goal for 25%. And right now we are reaching around 24%. But we just need to make sure that the M&As aren't going to have like a negative impact here. Non-white representation, our goal is 40%. We're currently at 32% within the US. And our non-white leadership representation has slightly declined to 12.2%, and that is due to the M&As. So another area that we just have to start taking into account as we look at kind of redefining some of these goals or even restructuring some of our efforts to ensure that we can still hit these goals moving forward. Next slide. And really, this is just the visual breakout for the diversity data. Specifically within Massachusetts, though, we do have 31% of our senior leadership represented as or identifying as women, and 4.8% as non-white. So from a women's standpoint, feeling really good with our representation of female leadership and working on the non-white representation. Next slide. So here for our supplier diversity efforts, as mentioned, we have a 5% goal by 2028. And currently we are still at just 1% within the US. Within Massachusetts, we do have better diversity spending. We actually also this past August met with Boston While Black for economic empowerment conversations, really to talk about how we can further diversify our spending locally. As I mentioned last quarter, we also have recently onboarded Supplier IO, which will help us better with tracking and spending. And we are actually looking to move the supplier diversity efforts into our procurement department with, continued partnership with our IEB team, but just based off of so much of our spend going to those longer tail contracts where we really don't have that much of a initial say. We're really looking at how do we just be a little bit better at, our RFPs, and when those new contracts start to come up, how we make sure that we are reaching out to diverse suppliers to make sure that they are participating in those efforts. So we're hoping to get that done within Q4. So we will have an executive committee. We will have the procurement team working on some of those intentional processes, and then line into the IUB team to ensure that we are reaching out to organizations locally, but also across the US, as well as proper tracking and reporting to move forward.
So Christina, this is Jordan. I have a question. It looks to me like the total diversity spend, that a large portion of your total diversity spend is the spend in Massachusetts. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. You have a significantly higher number in Massachusetts, and I'm noticing that overall it seems to be that your Massachusetts spend is driving that, even that 1% number.
Yes, and that big part of that is actually one of our technology contracts, so that helps that was already an effort that was included. But it's really, and then furthermore, because we do so much within our just local offices, we're very intentional about ensuring any of those like just ad hoc spend, whether it's catering, event planning, et cetera, that is coming from diverse suppliers. So it's more about how do we just replicate that across our other offices, even though those aren't like headquartered office and the spend is a little bit lower, but just making sure that we're still doing that through like our workplace experience. But furthermore, it's those larger contracts that we need to look at once they come up. And there's some things we know we won't be able to necessarily change in the short term, but I think it's about having those processes in place and being prepared for when contracts come up and when we're able to start RFP.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you. And then next slide, which is just the breakdown, as you can see, right? The majority of our spend across diverse suppliers is happening within Mass. So we will, continuously work to maintain that and, increase it as we go along. All done. Thanks.
Thanks, Christina. So moving forward to underage slash minor access in Q2, I'll just walk through each month. So 14 cases in April, 12 in May, and 9 in June. And of course, as we state in previous submissions, this does include any level of confidence of an underage access claim. So even if someone merely just writes into the customer service, these are included in the reporting numbers.
Questions, commissioners, for Jake on this? I will note that it's significantly higher than when we had our first quarterlies some time ago. So
yeah, it's certainly something for us to monitor. There is some level probably of trailing just new customer accounts. So this comes off the back of Q1 where we had Super Bowl and March Madness. So some of it is probably driven by just having more customer accounts and therefore more fraud investigations as well. And then moving to responsible gaming, I'll pass it over to Julie.
Thanks, Jake. Good morning, commissioners. In Q2, we had a voluntary self-exclusion applications as of 291. In terms of account limits, as you can see, we're continuously seeing low rates across the board. This is not unique, of course, to DraftKings, but we do have a goal of a really aggressive goal of increasing our limit setting tool utilization by 50% in H1 and an additional 50% in H2. We are seeing numbers increase across the board, just generally speaking, not specifically to Massachusetts. So I think that we're looking at really promising results upcoming here. And then in Responsible Gaming Center, so we're really proud to have increased and continue enhancing our Responsible Gaming Center with a refreshed tone of voice, knowing that a lot of people think of responsible gaming tools aren't for them because they don't have problems. And we really need to work to shift that narrative. And part of that narrative is really looking at how we're addressing our players. And so we've been really working assertively with our marketing teams on, really looking at what players perceive to be responsible gaming in terms of like how they can access it and make it easier for them. And so what we've done is we've shifted our tone of voice to make this, really user-friendly, accessible to our players in a Responsible Gaming Center. If you go to it, you can see it's just a very sort of approachable, normalized way of accessing our tools. And so this is what it looks like in app in terms of what we offer our players. We always make it accessible in terms of being able to set deposit limits, wager limits, maximum single wager limits, and then of course time limits. We also now have a payments method option, which allows players to set the deposit methods that make the most sense to them. So for instance, if they only want to do online banking, they can do that. If they only want to do a certain other methods, they can do that as well. So they have the ability to toggle and activate and deactivate those payment methods as well. And then we also have been launching in-app communication. So one of the things that I know that GameSense is really, has modeled is sort of like soft nudge interventions. And so we've taken soft nudge interventions, we've been applying those across the board to players who exhibit potential signs of, getting into perhaps a little bit riskier type of behavior. So for example, if they're setting a certain number of deposits per day, if they're spending an amount of time per day, what we do is we actually have a sort of a stepped care approach with addressing our players. As you can see there on the bottom, we have a nudge that says, don't budge on your budget. So, check out our deposit tools. And so this would be something that's the softest nudge. And then for the second one, you see there, make a winning game plan. That's for a little bit higher of a threshold with players where we want to maybe more directly address them in a way that is really prescriptive to get them to engage with our tools as well. We continue to iterate on these. We're really proud of our analytics team that's really been helping support and drive a lot of these efforts with us to be able to then analyze and track how our players are responding to this. And we're seeing promising results and hope that we can present with you all in the future around that as well.
questions, commissioners? I was on a meeting with Roga recently where they said they think the uptake's about 2%. So I'm looking at this thinking this is a little lower than 2%, but I hear what you're saying about trying to increase uptake. So that's a noble goal.
Yeah, and perhaps the number itself is the actual like the percent of players. So the percent of increase is higher based upon the very low percentage of uptake. That's the baseline number. That would be my guess. My stat sheet continues to be well received. It's actually our most popular RG tool for our players to be able to see how they're doing with their spending, how they're doing with their time on our products. And so we actually are looking to further iterate that. We have a small, a few additions that we'll be launching in mid-October. And then we are looking at H1 of next year, launching even more features for our players to be able to really review their account play and being really transparent with them about their play with us.
Just pausing for a moment for any further questions. Okay, moving quickly to lottery. The acquisition of Jackpocket does continue to be the focus for how we might drive lottery sales. A little bit more information on that acquisition here. In February, DraftKings announced that it reached an agreement to acquire Jackpocket and subsequently announced the completion of the transaction on May 23rd. Renowned for its innovative digital lottery services, Jackpocket has a robust technology infrastructure and a strong brand presence. Jackpocket simplifies the lottery experience by providing players with a secure platform to order lottery tickets from home or on the go. By helping today's players participate in the lottery from the convenience of their smartphone or computer, Jackpocket also helps state lotteries drive incremental revenue to fund essential state programs such as education, veteran services, natural resources, and more. DraftKings integration of Jackpocket is off to a great start. And then if no questions there, I'll pass it over to Jared to speak to community outreach and charitable impact.
Thanks, Jake. Proud to share some of our community impact just during Q2 of this year. Once again, DraftKings was the presenting sponsor of Jimmy Fun Day in partnership with the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. This is a really great event where Dana-Farber patients are able to sort of like live their dream and play on the field at Fenway. In addition to sponsoring the event, DraftKings had many employees participate and volunteer for the event. It was a really great day and a big part of Dana-Farber's mission for the year. DraftKings was also a major sponsor of the Joanne Druzy and Friends golf tournament. Joanne Druzy Foundation provides support for New England cancer patients and their families. So DraftKings was proud to sponsor their event and provide funding for things like rent and mortgage help, utilities, household expenses, and things that cancer patients and families face when going through their treatment. This year, we're also continuing our Tech for Heroes program. This is where DraftKings, in partnership with Vets and Tech, trains veterans and military spouses in high-demand tech skills. In May, we graduated an additional 24 veterans, participated in a graduation ceremony. We always have a DraftKings representative come and talk about employment opportunities and job skills and things like that. DraftKings was also a participant in the Vets and Tech Career Training Employer Meetup, where we spoke to Vets and Tech graduates and attendees of the DraftKings classes, teaching them about job skills, resume building, mentorship. We also started a mentorship program this year with Vets and Tech, where DraftKings employees will serve as mentors for veterans in the program. And finally, DraftKings hosted Gather on the Green Las Vegas. This is the first event in Las Vegas that we hosted. This is where DraftKings employees come together for a day of golf, but to donate their money, to support a charity that we selected for the day. The charity for this event was US Vets Las Vegas. We raised over $20,000 for their charity. We had another event in Boston a few weeks later, but that'll spill into Q3. So a little sneak peek there. But it was a great event, and looking forward to sharing the even larger event in Boston. We had over 150 employees at the Las Vegas event. Thank you.
Thank you, Jared. I know that I can speak for all the commissioners when we say we appreciate all the work on both Jimmy Fund, cancer, and veterans. I'm looking at Commissioner Hill, who I know did a lot of veteran work. Maybe the state rep.
Thank you.
Commissioners, questions for DraftKings?
I do have a question, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all for presenting to us today. Jake, I guess this is to you since you spoke to the slide. It's on the lottery slide, and sorry to make us go backwards. You don't have to pull the slide up again.
Sure.
I see DraftKings acquisition of Jackpocket as separate and apart from the requirement that operators work with the lottery to advertise, promote their services. Has there been any recent communication, and it may be moot because the lottery has now been authorized to move online, and but I don't think that that's going to happen for another couple of years. 2026, I believe, is what has been publicly announced. Has there been any further communication with the Treasurer's Office, the lottery, relative to any collaboration on the platform itself? For instance, does DraftKings intend to integrate at some point, or even now with Jackpocket, that feature into the actual sportsbook platform?
So, I mean, certainly we intend to have cross-sell from DraftKings to Jackpocket. Beyond that, yeah, that's not really that's not a question I have an answer to at the moment. Jackpocket has been the focus because, yes, I mean, we do really believe that this is a way to drive significant sales for the lottery. But if you know, if the commission would prefer that we expand the focus, that's certainly something that we could discuss further.
You know, again, I can't speak for the lottery, so I don't know what their thinking is today relative to collaboration with the sports wagering operators, but it is something that I think that the commission should revisit at some point. If you happen to gain any additional information about that direction, it would be helpful if you just share that with us along the way. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and Commissioner Skinner, we did do a check-in with the lottery where we heard that the operators were working with Director Bracken and that team at some point. So maybe it's just us getting a little update on where that is across the board. Commissioner O'Brien?
No, I was going to ask that is this direct communication, Mr. List, between you and lottery, and even Jordan, when you're saying they've had those communications conveyed to us, is that a general statement, or is this each operator has in fact had direct communications with lottery?
We, on the record, got an update that they had, but then Commissioner Skinner and I did have a meeting with Director Bracken. I don't know, Commissioner Skinner, what was it? Probably 2 months ago now?
Well, I think it was even longer than that. It was definitely pre-passage of online lottery.
It was, yeah. And he did tell us that they had engaged with the operators. Now, we didn't, because we knew that it would have to come to a public meeting and we would have the whole discussion, didn't get into the, are you satisfied? What's going on? But we did confirm they had conversations. And when I say they, I mean
with each operator?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
So where they are in each of those conversations, I don't know. We would have to mark that up and probably invite the lottery, but
it might not be a bad idea. I mean, to Commissioner Skinner's point, I mean, it's required, right? So as part of the application process, et cetera. So if they want another forum to sort of get everybody together in one place for them, that might not be a bad idea.
Well, it'd be a possibility to maybe drop this completely from the reporting requirement if they've satisfied what the lottery asked us for 2 years ago.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was thinking and asking the question. Is it I mean,
Right.
we should, kind of wait to hear, and even at our invitation from the lottery, to see what direction they are looking for operators to move in here with,
Right. I mean, they may
with
say it's
assistance from
premature.
MGC.
Right. But given the change in the statute, it's probably right to put under review on the agenda.
Yeah, we should do that and at least see where it is, because we as a commission decided to put 23K like requirements into the application process. And so we need to see what's going on there. So yeah, maybe let's try to get that scheduled at large. Okay, anything else for DraftKings? Well, thank you. Thank you for the report. Always good to see you. Jake, Christina, Jared. I'm missing a few. DraftKings team.
And Julie.
Julie, I know I was missing somebody. Thank you.
As usual, thank you everyone for your time.
All right. Director Teresi, are we going to move forward with BetMGM? Or Crystal Boschman, I guess, was running the meeting. Sorry, Crystal.
We can pass it off to Director Tracy. Oh, I just made her director. Yeah, I think as long as you guys want to continue, everyone else seems to be ready to rock in this order. So I see Rich, I see Sarah. I don't know if I see Josh yet, but I'll hand it over to Sarah. I know she runs the show anyway. So.
Gosh, you're being really generous this morning. Good morning, commissioners.
Hand it off.
Yeah. Staff, thank you so much for having us again this quarter. We've got the usual team plus one new joiner to the BetMGM staff, Jasmine Polite. She is going to be joining us for our presentation today and then in a going forward basis. So Rich Eggy is on. He'll be sharing our deck for us and we'll kick it off. So it's our quarterly report for Q2 of 24. I'll start with revenue. Next slide, Rich, for me. Q2 revenue was just over 7.7 million with 1.5 in taxes. Down, but expectedly from Q1 due to the sports schedule. Pass it off now to Jaleel.
Awesome. Thank you, Sarah. Greetings, commissioners. Super excited to be here once again. Rich, can you go to the next slide? So to kick off with our data breakdown, we saw a very limited change from Q1 to Q2. Nothing statistically significant as far as those changes go as well. Although we did have a spike in overall hiring, it didn't change our demographic breakdown as far as underrepresented populations or Massachusetts residents. And we will touch more on our broader goals related to this later in the presentation. Thank you.
I'll cover vendor utility. Our numbers were up slightly, Q2 over Q1, pretty much across the board, with the exception of the veteran-owned businesses. But you can see our total vendor spend was up in Q2. Next, and our local vendor utility, our total across all quarters was 1.7 million. Down slightly in Q2 from Q1. I'll pass it to Rich, who will cover our compliance items.
Thanks, Sarah. Good morning, Commission. Next slide, please, Rich. So in Q2, we had 0 underage patron confirmed accounts identified. We did have 2 claims that were flagged by our team and reviewed, but were determined to be invalid after our review process. We attribute this largely to the KYC controls that we have in place, where we are required to validate the phone number. And so this has helped us reduce the number in the quarter to 0. We continue to work together to identify ways to enhance this process. But as you can see here, we had a total of 0. Next slide, please. So some responsible gambling information. Next slide. Here you can see during the quarter, we had an increase in the use of our time limit, deposit limits. Cool off and self-exclusion stayed flat, and spend limit stayed relatively flat. You'll see the deposit limit was double, and I think we know why, and I'll talk about that here in the next couple of slides. But the responsible gambling tools have been really a big focal point for us. We've had some discussions on these calls about the tools and the utilization rates, and so we're making more of an effort to get these in front of our customers. And based on some of the figures here, we had a positive result in the quarter in terms of increasing the use of some of these valuable tools. Next slide. Our cool off days relatively flat, just a few thousand less than what we had in Q1. Average remains around 130 days. Median was 31 again, and the maximum continues to be 366 because that's the maximum that the platform offers. Next slide. So here's the reason why I believe we're seeing some of that increase in the use of our responsible gambling tools. In March, we launched our Carried Away Responsible Gambling commercial. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but it features NHL superstar and BetMGM ambassador Connor McDavid. And the purpose of this ad was to really shine a positive and friendly light on the responsible gambling tools as a way to help you stay in control of your gameplay and prevent you from being carried away. So the commercial debuted on March 7th, 2024. And on April 30th, 2024, we did a look back to see what type of impact we were having on the use of those responsible gambling tools. And in Massachusetts, during the time period, we saw a 17% increase in active deposit limits. And I think the other one was a 17% increase in timeouts. Those two numbers really stood out to me as an indication that the tool resonated with the audience. So very promising. This is our first responsible gambling commercial. We're very proud of this work, and we're going to continue to do similar types of ads like this. I can't give away too much because where would the fun be in that? But stay tuned as over the coming months, we continue to develop more assets and more ways of getting responsible gambling tools in front of our customers. Next slide. I'll turn it over to the next person for the lottery.
Good morning, commissioners. Nice to see you again. Rich, if I could get the next slide, please. So at this time, BetMGM still has an open dialogue with the lottery, although I don't have a substantive update for you at this meeting. I would add that we are aware of the mobile lottery bill that Commissioner Skinner mentioned, and that will inform some of our conversations with the lottery as well as we move forward. Happy to answer any questions, but otherwise, I will turn it over to Jasmine.
Good morning, commissioners. So my name is Jasmine Polite, and I am actually the new Senior Director of DEI here at BetMGM. And I'm so excited to be here and to get the opportunity to meet all of you. I've been in my role now just shy of 3 months. And over the last few months, obviously, I have spent most of my time just trying to learn and conducting discovery meetings to really understand where we are as a company and what opportunities we have when it comes to DEI, creating a more equitable and inclusive workforce for our employees. Most recently, I came from Wayfair, which I'm sure y'all are all familiar with since it's based right there in Boston. And in my career, I've been about in the DEI space now for about 10 years. I've worked both in-house and as a consultant for nonprofits, government, healthcare, and tech companies. And some of the pillars of my work are centered around data, being very data oriented, sustainability, and impactful. So, any initiative that's created and launched from the DEI team has to be backed by data, as well as being impactful and sustainable for the company at scale. And that includes tracking, reporting on strategy effectiveness and success. So we actually have tangible results, and we're able to increase accountability across the board. So with that said, Rich, if you want to go to the next slide. I know y'all, I had an opportunity to watch some of the previous meetings, and I know y'all have really been pushing us to create some concrete DEI goals. And I completely agree. We need to get to that place. My hope is that sometime in 2025, we will be at a place where we can actually have those goals to be able to share with y'all. So what we're doing, what I'm prioritizing now in order to get to that place where we can define our core KPIs and set org-wide goals is focusing right now on conducting needs assessments across the company, both org-wide and by our various functions, as well as defining our research questions and the metrics related to the employee lifecycle that we look at in the DEI team. We are also launching a self-ID campaign that will kick off here in about 4 weeks so that we have an opportunity to collect better employee data. And then finally, I'm working with all of our HR functions to embed equity and inclusion principles into the various work streams and processes. So right now, we're in our performance management timeframe, and I'm really embedded with that team to ensure that we are embedding equity and building an equitable performance process. And then our other priorities through the end of 2024 is continuing our Empower Mentorship program, which Jaleel will speak to in a little bit, as well as evolving our ERG so that they can be more strategic and business driven. Are there any questions about me or our 2024 priorities?
Commissioners?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner Hill.
all I would say is welcome aboard. And we
Thank
look
you.
forward to working with you in the future. As you have seen and said from watching our past meetings, this is something that we care very deeply about. And we have a great staff here at MGC that I'm sure that you have already reached out to. But if you haven't, you should, because they have a lot of great information that I think both would benefit. So welcome aboard, and we look forward to your future updates.
Great, thank y'all. Okay, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jaleel to talk about our Q2 initiatives.
Awesome. Thank you, Jasmine. As I've mentioned throughout this year, each of our ERGs have strategic pillars that reflect what is most important to our ERG members and leadership. So Rich, you can go to the next slide. So looking back at our ERG initiatives during Q2, we had a great deal of ERG collaboration, professional development, and community involvement opportunities. Of course, we launched our second cohort of the Empower Mentorship program, as Jasmine mentioned. And this year we've experienced so far a 20% increase in participation from last year, which is a great outcome. Our Black Employee Network ERG and API Voices ERG had a mixer in office in May, and that kind of celebrated the intersection of those two communities. And looking ahead, intersectionality is going to be a critical component of our ERGs as we talk about that strategy that Jasmine brought up earlier, so that we are inclusive and accountable for as many different perspectives as we can be at MGM. Thirdly, members of our Black Employee Network also attended the Black Sports Business Conference in Atlanta, Georgia, which was completely company sponsored. Professional development and networking are our two key focus areas for this group, and these members were able to do both while connecting with some of the most prominent Black leaders in the sports industry. So that was a fantastic event for them to experience. And then finally, our Pride ERG was a sponsor at Jersey City Pride this year, which brought cultural awareness to their community and is an extremely large temple within Jersey City itself. So it's a great way for our ERGs to get involved just within our regional community. Any final questions for either myself or Jasmine?
I think you're good.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Jaleel. Commissioners, any questions overall on the presentation before we kick it back to Manager Bushman? Commissioner Skinner.
Just also want to say congratulations to Jasmine on the new role. Welcome back to Massachusetts via these meetings, and I too look forward to your future updates. You called out a lot of good initiatives that you've already jumped in with, and so we'll be looking for the goals that you're working on, the diversity goals that you have been tasked with by, I think you said the end of 2024. Is that right?
And the goal to have those goals to be able to present to you is sometime in 2025. I don't have a clear date yet, but hopefully those priorities that I outlined for you will be wrapped up by 2024, and then we'll be well on our way to be able to define what those goals are.
Got it. Well, we're going to stay on you, so we look forward to your progress updates. I'll also say to Rich and the entire team, really, very impressive to see your cool-off stats at the increase in some of those options that are available to individuals. And I know you talked about having more, I don't know if you said commercials specifically, but more of the initiatives to drive traffic to those tools. And so it'd be interesting to see how the stats shape up over time as you continue to introduce different initiatives. So keep up the good work there.
Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate that.
I second everything Commissioner Skinner said, so that makes it easy for me. Anything else? It's always good to see you all. Welcome, Jasmine. We're so glad you're here. You can tell your colleagues that the commission is giving you the mandate to make them work with you on those goals.
Okay, definitely.
We are happily engaged with Jasmine, so I'm thrilled to have her on the team.
Trying to make her job easier here, Sarah.
Yeah.
All right, so thank you so much. And with that, we'll kick it back to Manager Boschman.
Thank you all. Bye now.
Thank you. Next up, we have Caesar Sportsbook. I think I see, hi, Curtis. Looks like you're prepared. I will just turn it over to you.
Good morning, commissioners. Good morning, everyone.
Hi, Curtis.
Let's see. Okay. Can you see my screen okay? All right. Well, again, thank you for the opportunity to present our Q2 report today. Joining me from the Caesars team, Kirsten Flint, our Senior Vice President of Corporate Social Responsibility and Internal Communications, who's joining the presentation for the first time. David Schultz, our VP of Procurement, Caroline Leyugan, our Responsible Gaming Program Director, Greg Schinberg, our Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, as well as myself. So to start, we'll look at our revenue for Q2. And as shown on the slide, I'm doing a comparison here of Q1 versus Q2. A lighter sports calendar for the period. So in June, we took in an overall loss. However, with the Olympics and the NFL, we'll start to see some improvement on this come Q3. Okay, well, with that, are there any questions on this slide? Okay. If not, I will turn it over to Greg to discuss workforce diversity.
Perfect. Thank you, Curtis, and greeting to the commission and all the other participants. It's good to present again. Greg Schinberg, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Director. For the purpose of this section, I'd like to speak about the Caesars workforce and our diversity effort or initiatives in driving and retaining a diverse workforce. So our policies and processes throughout our organization are designed to attract and maintain a diverse workforce. And so I'd like to reiterate what our publicly stated goal is. One of 50% of leadership roles will be held by women at both, both the mid and senior levels, as well as 50% of leadership will be held by people of color by the end of 2025. So I'd like to maybe dive a little bit deeper though. Our commitment for these goals is still remains solid as we continue to grow and we ensure our recruitment and team member development processes are in line behind these stated goals. So we aim to achieve these goals through a range of actions that include reinforcing our DEI culture across all communication and training channels, and ensuring an equitable access to development programs for team members, both professional development and inclusion programs. So for some of those programs, we have a pretty robust employee resource program, or we refer to as a business impact groups. With 38 active ERG or big chapters, 2 of them are national chapters. We are looking to support our diversity efforts through networking, personal, professional development, talent acquisition, and community-based events through these groups. And so I mentioned there are 38 active groups, and that has grown significantly over the past couple of years. And we really are looking to utilize them to help broaden our scope and representation throughout the entire network. We have also successfully rolled out 2 professional development programs, our Extraordinary Leadership program, which is for managers and above, as well as our Emerging Leaders program, and all of this in an effort to not only develop our teams, but to support our goals. And then lastly, what I'd like to highlight is we have an all-in on education and initiative, and since 2022, Caesars has supported our team members with more than $3 million in assistance in education and various different offerings. Okay, if you go to the next slide, please. All right, on this slide, you'll see a breakdown of our workforce within the Caesars digital business, which includes our sportsbook and e-gaming. Again, this is specific to, or the reason why we're highlighting this is for our presence in Massachusetts. So there's a few things I'd like to highlight here in the breakdown. There are 4 different categories: minority, women, veterans, and then Massachusetts residents. So you will see there are a total of 1,523 team members within the Caesars digital business, and 35% of them identify as a minority, 22% are women, 2% are veteran, and then there are 7 residents, which is about, so they're executive level, reaching about 2% of the total population here. Now, again, as the disclosure mentions there, team members are not required to disclose veteran status, so these are self-ID stats. Any question on this data?
None right now, Greg.
Okay, perfect. And we'll go to supplier diversity then.
Good morning, commissioners. Pleasure to be presenting again to you this quarter. As you can see in the chart below, Q3, Q4, and Q1, those numbers have been validated and updated accordingly. As you can also see, as Curtis mentioned, we had some revenue drop in Q2. That is directly associated, of course, with our total spend as a company. So we also saw a drop in total spend, but happy to say that we were able to improve upon our overall diversity spend, raising our diversity percentage to 11.51% for the quarter. Of course, those numbers, we are still in the process of validating and auditing them, and we will update those accordingly on the next presentation. We attribute a lot of this increase by our focus on non-regulated areas of our company, and putting diversity at the forefront and thought of every procurement transaction. And as we do, we feel that we will continue to have a strong results in this area. So, any questions from the commissioners?
None right now.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Turning our attention to play management reporting. A Q1 versus Q2 comparison here of the top used limitations with RG related inquiries. Although fewer patrons in Q2 because again of the lighter sports schedule, it looks fairly balanced in the usage of the wagers and the deposit limitation feature. So again, as we continue to have these presentations, we'll continue to add more history and have a lot more to look at and perhaps determine if any trends are existing there. So we'll continue to be on the lookout for more insightful trends as we go along. Any questions on this slide?
Not right now, Curtis.
Okay. Turning it over to Caroline for responsible gaming.
Hey everyone, good morning from Las Vegas. Good morning, commissioners and staff, and I'm happy to be here today to report on responsible gaming. First item on the slide is our mass BSC enrollments. With comparison from Q1 to Q2, we can see that there was an increased change of 3%. For Q2, 103 participants from the mass state exclusion program. And at Caesars Entertainment, not only are these individuals suppressed from online gambling in Massachusetts, but they are suppressed from gambling at all brick and mortar facilities and online platforms throughout the Caesars Enterprise gaming products. Okay. Second item that we have is our participation over at the Massachusetts conference on May 14th. We had Curtis Lane attend the conference, and we are looking to attend next year's conference. So we're looking to find out when the dates are. If that's available, please let us know right away so we can incorporate it into our roadmap and scheduling for conferences next year. We also evaluated in Q2 reinvestment with the National Council on Problem Gambling. There's a suite of programming and sponsorships that we took into consideration on how we'd like to support the National Council. And one of the most successful programs that we've invested in and provided seed money to was the DEI scholarship program for the National Conference. We initially provided seed money 4 years ago, and as the years progressed, we have seen an increase in participation. So this year, there were approximately 40 participants that were awarded a grant to attend the conference, which paid for the registration, in addition to the travel incentives, which include lodging and airfare. So that's good to see, and we will continue to support this programming going forward. Another programming that we really thought about and we wanted to see continue to grow and prosper was the National Problem Gambling Helpline Modernization Program. So Jamie from the National Council has been reporting on the progress and progression of this program, and we will also continue to support this programming as well as we'd like to see it evolve. And ensure that the problem gambling helpline numbers that are regulated in the various jurisdictions that we operate and nationwide are provided to our customer base, along with any other family members, who need to have this number available to them for help resources. We also provided funding for various sponsorship opportunities, in addition to the inaugural Safer Sports Betting Summit, which was one of the pre-conference workshops. This was a great conference, and we hope to see it happen again next year. Lastly, one of the last programs that we've discussed with the National Council that provides value to our community is the Veterans Affairs Program. So that's what we did in Q2. We invested our leadership circle status to ensure that these programmings are available to the community. We also invested in a sponsorship that benefited the ICRG. It helps them to continue their legendary research and education efforts. This is a program that we are proud to support. It brings community together, manufacturers, gaming operators, researchers, to ensure that we are continuously funding and being mindful that we support the ICRG and their mission and vision and their efforts. So that's where we are with Q2. Any questions that I can answer?
Commissioners, questions? None right now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Caroline.
You're welcome.
Continuing on with our lottery update in Q2 for National Lottery Week and Shark Week, Caesars partnered with the lottery to promote both those initiatives. We display creative such as the JAWS instant ticket and other lottery promotions on the platform during this period. And again, we'll continue to look for more marketing strategies and working with the lottery, and looking forward to providing the commission more updates as we go along. Any
That
questions
is
here?
hilarious, Curtis.
Well, I struggled whether or not I had trademark rights to use the JAWS logo, so I played it safe here by picking some cute sharks. So I hope that it works just as well.
I'm laughing because where I live, we have a beach, and it's been closed for almost, or it will be closed for almost 2 months because we have sharks coming in like 5 feet of water. So I'm looking at this and I'm just cracking up because all I'm seeing is sharks everywhere. But this is awesome. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sorry.
No, and Commissioner Hill, I was going to say also exactly what I was envisioning when we talked about cross promotion, right? So I'm actually seeing what I was thinking about. Yeah.
I agree with that, Commissioner Maynard. And Curtis, congrats on your successful partnership here with the lottery. That's great.
Absolutely. Thank you. Okay, we can move on. Pass it over to Greg for community outreach.
Perfect. I will kind of bring this to an end, and Commissioner Hill, I will find out where that beach is so I do not visit it. All right. So what I'd like to finish us off with is our community outreach and focusing on supplier diversity. So in past quarter reporting, we have highlighted our community impact and philanthropic efforts with national organizations that also have a presence and reach within the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, as well as our continued support for the Massachusetts Military Support Foundation. But for this quarter, I wanted to highlight the national partnerships with certifying organizations that you see here, the 5 that are shown here. Each of these organizations have a significant presence within the Commonwealth, within the business community, as well as Massachusetts being one of the first states and local governments to include, such as LGBT-owned businesses and so forth, in the government supply chain. So we continue to strongly support them. And within our partnerships with these, outside of utilizing the diverse certified owned businesses, we help support each one of these organizations to help fund their certification program. We sit on or participate within certification committees to either mentor or get small businesses certified through the appropriate processes for each. And for a number of these, we participate through having seats as board of directors or advisory committees, both nationally and some of the regional boards. So heavily embedded there. And then, of course, on a monthly basis, we participate in matchmaker and mentorship events to help develop businesses throughout the entire U.S., not just where our physical presence is. And then we are certainly thrilled that we have been identified through a number of these organizations as top corporations within their respective areas. And we are going to continue to look for ways to, through these organizations, to support the development and support of the small businesses throughout the U.S. So I have one last thing I want to mention, but before I do that, any questions on our participation with the national partners?
No, that's fantastic. I will say Crane Beach is safe to walk on and sit on. I heard on NPR this morning, or on BZ radio. So
that is duly noted. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right. So the last thing I wanted to follow up with was some previous requests from the commission regarding our diversity playbook. So we previously had a little bit of concern or caution, I should say, regarding the privacy and confidentiality of the data that would be provided and whether that would be shared publicly or how that may look. But after having a very productive meeting this past Friday with members of the commission, we do have a solid understanding of what the request at hand is, and we're working to finalize the data so that it can be shared. So the information we feel that should be proprietary will be redacted. However, I do believe that's going to be quite minimal. So this review is happening, and we should have it completed within the next couple of weeks, and should be able to supply that to the commission by the end of the month. And so I'd like to say thank you for your patience on this, but I think we've made progress with that. And that was all for me.
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
just speaking to Greg for a minute. Thank you for speaking to that diversity playbook. I am aware that you are in conversation with our legal team relative to that. And so I appreciate you taking steps to provide a copy to commissioners as offered many months ago.
Yes, understood, and thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Curtis.
Okay, with that concludes our presentation. And as always, feel free to reach out to us on the Caesars team if you have any additional questions.
Thank you, Curtis and team. If we'll take the slides down, commissioners, do we have any questions for Caesars before we move on? Thank you again, Curtis and team. It's always good to see you all.
You as well. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, so I have to do a little more lifting for Fanatics, so give me 1 second. We've never figured out this technology issue, but I think I'm ready to share my screen. It looks like I see you. Mike, are you all set with the team?
The team is here. Again, I am extremely grateful for everything that Crystal has done for us here at FBG, especially presenting for us. Unfortunately, I have technological issues and can't present my screen today. So again, Crystal, thanks for everything, and we wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you. All right, so I share my screen, but I lose you guys. So just, are we blue or black?
We're black.
Okay.
We see it,
Black.
but it's not full screen yet, Crystal.
It isn't. Interesting. So I'm having my own issues, Mike. I usually do this for you pretty smoothly. Let me try. I've got 3 screens going. That's my own fault. How are we now?
Yeah, it looks good.
Okay.
That's what it was.
Yep.
Still not full screen, Jordan?
Because PDF, that's okay. That looks good.
Oh, right.
Yep.
We open it
I
in PDF.
expected to see it in the slideshow format. That's a good point, Michael.
Yes. All right. Perfect. So I will hand it over to Michael Levine.
Awesome. Well, good morning, commissioners. My name is Mike Levine, here again, Senior Regulatory Counsel for Fanatics Betting and Gaming. Today, myself, as well as my colleagues, Steph Althouse, our Human Resources Director, and Anthony D'Angelo, our Head of Responsible Gaming, will present our Q2 2024 results for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. All right, we can move to revenue. Okay, so our Q2 sports wagering revenue for the Commonwealth was approximately $4.7 million. and our taxes remitted to the Commonwealth in Q2 was approximately $915,000. These numbers reflect those previously submitted to the MGC and detailed in our reports on the MGC website. With that said, I am going to pass it to Steph to discuss our HR initiatives.
Sure. Thanks, Mike. Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Thanks for having me. It's good to see you again. So yeah, I'll kick it off with our metrics for Q2. You'll see this version. We have two different slides. One is our all-inclusive, so US and international based employees, and then secondarily will be US based only. The reason for breaking it up this go around is we had quite a change in Q2 with FBG's acquisition of PointsBet. So our overall numbers from Q1 to Q2 jumped 40%. But about a third of those employees that we acquired were internationally based, where voluntary disclosure is quite low. And then also 86% of FBG employees are US based. So we thought it was important to break it out for this session. Overall, for this slide, holistically, you do see numbers increase, but again, mentioning that the overall percentages did go down. So our biggest decrease was our manager and supervisor for our minority levels, whereas that number increased by 10 individuals. But the percentage went down from 34 to 28%. And then again, where the minority group for non-manager increased from 193 to 230 individuals, the overall percentage decreased from 43 to 36%. And then on the next page or slide is our more one back, Crystal, I apologize. Sorry, no, they look very similar. Thank you. These are US employee metrics. So you'll see some of these numbers shifted from Q1. So our women in exec increased from 25 to 30%. Our number of women in the manager and supervisor level increased from 66 to 71 individuals. And then both our manager and non-manager levels increased for the Massachusetts residents for 2 individuals overall. Intent of goals. So, as the newest entrant into the industry, FBG continues to work to identify some of our core DEI metrics and goals, as well as more of our DEI priorities for the second half and going into 2025. For the exec women, we do have somewhat of a target here where we're looking to get around the 20 to 25% range as our first target goal to kind of counter. And it looks like we're just exceeding that by a bit, which is great. And then secondary metrics that we're looking to tackle is around our manager and supervisor minority and exec minority levels, as well as our non-manager women category. So each of these categories we're hoping to increase from a 3 to 5 percentage basis points for the next quarter and going forward. Next page slide. And then just around our goals and initiatives as a Fanatics overall. So our all-star team culture, talent, and development. So FBG does participate in the Fanatics Idea, Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Allyship program, where about a quarter of our workforce currently participates in all of our fan networks that we have, which is the Fanatics Alliance networks, where essentially it is cultivating idea-focused learning and development for our team members. And then on the next slide there, this is some of our goals and initiatives that we're looking to kind of hone in on for the next quarter and going forward. So in Q3, we did host some Pride Month with our leadership panel, as well as our office hours and celebrating of LGBTQI community, as well as the Black Sports Business Symposium, which is an annual conference for Black professionals of all different levels within tech, media, and sports as a way to get together and network. As well as some of our TNA initiatives here. So our biggest thing is around attracting DEI talent within posting job descriptions that we have externally. So more recently, we've honed in on Textio, which is essentially an AI resource and tool that's going to help us ensure that we're using some inclusive language in our job descriptions that are out there, as well as expanding some of our efforts to post in the following websites, such as diversity.com, Allen Equal, Recruit Military, et cetera, et cetera. We have some upcoming conferences that we're very excited to be able to attend this year. So next week we are attending the Grace Hopper 2024 celebration, which is essentially the world's largest tech conference for women and non-binary technologists. It is a nonprofit that aims to build tech for the people who use it. And then we are also going to be attending Afrotech this year. And that is the largest annual Black tech conference in the world and is a global gathering for tech companies, innovators, and business professionals. So super excited to be doing that this year. And then one of our recruitment programs that we're working on with our business partners and the TA team is just around some of our early talent, where we are looking to put together and roll out our 2025 intern program, whereas essentially we have a hiring goal of 75% diverse candidates, and the goal is to convert 100% of them to full-time hires once the internship program is over. And then for our manager and executive hiring, we're looking to create guidelines that recommend that all director plus roles have at least one diverse candidate within the slate before we move forward with any type of offer. Recruiters have a goal of 15% diverse hires for the next year, and then all interview loops require a minimum of one diverse interviewer. And I believe that is it for my slides. Any questions for me?
Awesome. Thanks, Steph.
Thank you.
So I'm going to quickly talk about vendor spend. In the Commonwealth, our total vendor spend this quarter was a little over 426,000. And our total overall diversity spend for Q2 is reflected here, which was a little over $1.1 million. With that said, I'm going to pass it off to Anthony D'Angelo, our head of responsible gambling, who will talk about some of our RG initiatives here at FBG.
Thanks, Mike. Good afternoon, commissioners and employees in MGC. I'm Anthony D'Angelo. I run Fanatics' responsible gaming program. On this slide here, you'll see our underage report metrics. Just to note as well, like this number does reflect individuals who our system has just flagged as potentially being underage. These aren't confirmed underage individuals. We did see a spike in June. This spike in June is largely due to the fact that we are kind of the newest entrants in the industry, customers who've maybe attempted on other platforms, try to sign up, ultimately go to the new entrant, see if they can get on. That includes potential increased fraud, fraudsters, all that. So the next quarter's presentation, you'll likely see these numbers are going to continue to rise as well, just because our kind of foothold in the industry is growing, which is great.
Anthony?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry. What are you attributing to the increase in numbers for June?
Yeah, the increase that we're attributing is that, like, because we are a newer entrant to the market, customers are failing. Sorry, not customers. Individuals are failing on other platforms and then eventually trying to sign up with us. We have more awareness generally in the industry today, so our numbers are kind of growing in all sense as it relates to new potential signups. We can dig a little deeper into this, but my gut is also telling me that we have increased fraud attempts as well. Again, we can't confirm that these people are underage or not. It's just the system flags as far as our KYC provider flags as far as that's potentially underage individual. All are not active active customers. They're all suspended and not able to actually play with us. But
okay, yeah, thank you. If you do gain some additional insight as to the reason for the increase, please do share next quarter.
Will do. No worries. Thank you.
I'm also thinking, Commissioner Skinner, if you have insights into how you're capturing these folks and potentially other, I'm interested, and I know we may have to do an executive session because these numbers are higher than some of the other operators.
Yeah.
Which I don't think is a bad thing. I think it's a good thing that your technology is catching these folks.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think we're more than happy to have a session with you guys to talk through it. We'll do some digging on our end. Thanks. Next slide, please, Crystal. So here you'll just see our VSE metrics. So in Q2, we had just 10 accounts that we identified as being on the Massachusetts VEP list. Those accounts were subsequently suspended. Customers were not able to access their accounts, place wagers, and all that. Next slide, please. So here's our RG tool metrics for the quarter. Month over or quarter over quarter, we do see a steady increase, especially in deposit limits. I should have had last quarter's up here. We had 3.1%, I believe. So we likely attribute the increase in numbers, like our goal is obviously to continue, like these numbers are low across the board, right? So we want to get these numbers up. We rolled out a proactive in early Q3, so you'll see the numbers and the metrics kind of grow for next presentation. But we rolled out a proactive RG communication that's sent to customers. We sent to, I believe, approximately 15,000 customers over the last month, which just highlights, all the tools we offer, all the benefits of those tools, things like that. So like I said, I think I would expect these numbers to continue to grow. They've grown without that prior. And obviously, our goal is to increase awareness. We also conducted a small study in Q3 internally with our own customers to try to get a feel of if a customer feels as if having RG tools or limit tools set negatively impacts their gaming experience. The overwhelming consensus it does not, which is great. Customers in the study love the fact, or I should say, appreciated the fact that we were A, conducting the study, and B, being more aware of the tools that are offered. No, they're not exclusive to us. These are tools in the industry. So, in our opinion, highlighting further need for us to try to raise awareness to customers about tools. Obviously, we talked about this in the past. There is a stigma around RG tools. Individuals feel like they are mainly for people who have issues, who have responsible gaming concerns. The stigma to remove it and treat it more like budgeting tools is an ongoing task for many operators in the industry. But we are going to try to think of unconventional ways to educate customers more so on the tools, whether it's potentially renaming them or rebranding them, which obviously we'll obviously talk to the MGC about, anything like that if we plan to do it. So if there are no questions, then that's it for me.
You move forward.
Awesome. Thanks, Anthony. I'll quickly touch on the lottery. We are in the process of reinitiating discussions with Executive Director Bracken post passage of the online lottery. We've gone back to the drawing board, and our partnership team will create some updated ideas that we will present to the lottery in the coming months. So hopefully by next quarter, we'll have some definitive partnership opportunities that we can present to you all. And then last slide. As usual, I want to highlight some of the great initiatives that Fanatics as a global brand is doing with the Make-A-Wish Foundation. As we've discussed, we at Fanatics are the official sports partner for Make-A-Wish. In Q2/Q3, I'm going to talk about both. We've already had over 50 wishes granted to wish recipients. Of note, and specific to the Commonwealth, a few weeks ago, we had wish recipients meet two New England legends, Tom Brady and David Ortiz, where they were able to make custom Topps cards and custom lids hats, which are part of the Fanatics ecosystem, and got to throw touchdown passes with Tom Brady, catch balls from David Ortiz. And then one of the big ones that is highlighted, and that was highlighted with the MLB, was we surprised a wish recipient with an opening pitch at Dodger Stadium, where she got to meet Shohei Ohtani throughout the first pitch and got to sit in the Dodgers suite for the game. So, we really value this partnership with Make-A-Wish Foundation, and, are happy to continue to share these updates with the MGC each quarter. And that's our presentation, commissioners. If you have any questions for us, please let us know.
Thank you, Mike. Commissioners, questions? Commissioner Hill.
I don't have any questions. I thank you for the update, and I always love the Make-A-Wish stories. So something I look forward to every time we hear your updates.
Thank you, Commissioner.
And good for Tom Brady and David Ortiz. I know they're busy. They do a lot, and Tom Brady's very busy these days. I see him every Sunday. All right. Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Okay, now I see Rich, who I liked to introduce earlier as DraftKings. Sorry, you popped up right as I was looking for Kevin. So we have Rich Cooper, and I think, were you able to get the rest of the team on, Rich, or are you still having?
Yes, thank you, Crystal. I think we're all here.
Okay, excellent. So then I will let you take it over.
Great. Is the screen showing for the commission?
Yep, we see it.
Super. Good morning or afternoon, Chair Maynard, members of the commission staff. Thank you for inviting us again to present our quarterly report. I am Rich Cooper, Vice President for Regulatory. I am joined by my colleagues who you've met on prior occasions, Keita Young, Vice President for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, and Ashley Cahill, Senior Director for Responsible Gaming. I'd like to begin, as we always do, with our revenue report. These are the numbers that have been previously reported to the commission for the 3 months of the second quarter. I won't go over the numbers, but they're there on the screen and in the submitted materials. Next, in terms of underage use, as you can see, in each of the last 2 quarters, we reported one per quarter confirmed case of underage use. I should also note that in each of those quarters, we reported to the commission staff 5 cases of suspected underage use of our platform. And we have also been engaged constructively with commission staff in understanding the commission's expectations about what suspected means so that we can make sure that our reporting aligns with the commission's expectations. Before moving on, let me just pause and see if there are any questions from the commission.
None right now, Rich.
All right, thank you. Let me turn it over to Keita Young for the next portion. I know that Ms. Young was having some issues earlier, but was able to join.
Yeah, it looks like she's talking, but we can't hear anything.
Sometimes if you look next to the mute button, there's a little up arrow. If you change the microphone that you're using, that may be helpful.
How is that?
We can hear you now.
Perfect. So good afternoon, commissioners. Pleased to be here again to update you on FanDuel's DE&I journey. So September 13th was my 2-year anniversary with the company. And I can report today that I'm still proud of the great work, our substantial investment, and our DE&I progress, which will illustrate, I think, to all of you and to me, the company's commitment to DE&I. So next page, we're still focusing on diverse sourcing and hiring, talent and development, community and culture, and employee engagement and communications. So I'd like to share some of the highlights of our efforts. And I want to note before I share everything that we've done, without the intentionality, the resources, and the investment and the commitment from our company, none of this happened. So 2 years in, I believe great progress. I think you've all witnessed this with me. I think this is my 4th time testifying of all the DE&I work and investment. We believe we're making an impact. So let's start with the diverse source and hiring. So our numbers are increasing with respect to the percentage of persons who've identified as diverse when we compare first half of the year 2023 versus the first half of the year for 2024. We have a 6% increase in the hiring of female leaders and a 4% increase in the hiring leaders from underrepresented racial and ethnic communities. We truly believe in diverse representation and are laser focused on working on creating diverse pools of applicants to be considered for open roles. I used to be known for saying, you can't hire who you don't see, but now everybody's saying it and we believe it. At FanDuel, we don't have a branding issue. But we recognize we do need to do better in creating relationships with sourcing organizations to expand our candidate pools. We're strengthening our relationships with our seasoned organizations, such as WISE, Global Gaming, and others. But we're now partnering with new organizations such as JobWell, People of Color in Tech, Women in Automation, and many more. The D&I's team relationship with the talent acquisition team continues to remain strong in moving our D&I efforts forward. So I may have spoken about this before, I can't remember, but I also wanted to highlight for all of you our summer associate class that we had the past summer, which was 23 bright, energetic, aspiring college juniors. And our class was 78% diverse, made up of females and or people of color, and 61% females. Intentionality, focus, and commitment, we believe, matter. And I just want to digress for one moment. And I have one story to share. So last week, I jumped on a plane and went to Atlanta to assist on our efforts with the AUCC Career Fair. This is our recruiting efforts at HBCUs, Spelman, Morehouse, and Clark. I'm a proud Spelman graduate. Okay, our efforts were not just one day career fair, but we went to Spelman the day before to assist with Spelman's Elevate Her Career Expo. The purpose of the expo was to prepare students for the actual career fair the following day. Vandal's task that day was to counsel and guide the students on what they called proper interview attire. But our head of campus recruiting set up a pop-up clothes closet with her own clothes to counsel the students on what to wear and not to wear in order to make a successful impression. I thought it was brilliant. It allowed for hands-on participation, visual understanding, thought-provoking conversations to assist these students in creating an impressionable image for their career journey. Intentionality, focus, and commitment, we believe, matter. Now, let's go into talent development. We still continue to leverage the great relationship and partnership we have with McKinsey & Company to assist with the development and growth of our colleagues. We had the Black Leadership Academy, Asian Leadership Academy, and Hispanic Leadership Academy. The first half of the year, over 100 colleagues from the underrepresented communities participated in a 3-month leadership development program with over 30 hours of leadership development trainings and learnings. Now, we're not a one and done company. For those that went through this program, we've partnered with an outside vendor to produce extended learning programs, which we're calling FanDuel Overtime Sessions. We love a sports theme here. It will be an immersive, interactive learning experience for the participants, on sessions around maximizing your performance, turning feedback into fuel, and perfecting your elevator pitch. We're also proud to announce, with the success of the Hispanic, Black, and Asian Leadership Academy, we're now beginning the second cohort for each of these communities. We are making an impact. Now, lastly, community and culture and employee engagement. So we committed to a year-long of cultural moments, celebrations, and activations to bring awareness to the diversity of our community through our 7 ERGs. I've included a slide to showcase some of these efforts. With our ERGs, we now have had over 75 activations in the first half of 2024, including the whole month of July was dedicated as ERG month. We also launched our self-ID campaign. We want to know you, be counted. And I've also included the video that we produced and is still being shown around the office to drive further voluntary participation. We expanded the racial and ethnic categories. We're now allowing employees to identify as members of the LGBTQIA+ community. And I'm proud to say for the first time, we're reporting on our veterans and military status because now we have that information through our self-ID campaign. One last thing I'd like to illustrate for all of you and point out is that DE&I got the highest score in our annual employee survey. While we are really proud of that number, what resonated most with me and the leaders in the company were the numerous comments acknowledging, appreciating, and praising the work that our company is doing around DE&I. And I've included some of those comments for your review. Now, commissioners, I know that we're all concerned, that you guys are concerned about goals from a numerical, quantitative standpoint. But we have goals. We have qualitative goals around D&I programming, investments, and D&I plans to foster and empower a more diverse, inclusive community. We have goals to grow the skills and leadership capabilities of our diverse population through programming, training, and retention plans. We have goals around improving and enhancing our hiring practices to make them more inclusive for all. And we have goals around pouring into and committing resources and money to advance our DE&I strategy. And with these goals and strategy, we expect over time that these efforts will pay dividends of a more robust, diverse workforce, inclusive hiring practices, and a more inclusive work environment. We have clear quarterly reporting that benchmarks our progress and or lack of progress from a numerical standpoint. And we believe that progress will happen through our intentional, committed, and focused efforts, and not just setting a numerical goal. So I'd like to move now to the next page, showing our current workforce numbers. Our numbers with the minority representation decreased slightly from 38.5% to 37.2%. We all understand that numbers will fluctuate and there will be ebbs and flows, but we are cognizant of the movement. Our numbers with female representation is constant at 30.5%. And for the first time, we're reporting our veterans numbers we now have because of our self-ID campaign. The last thing I'd like to talk about is our supplier diversity. So as you know, FanDuel last year committed to developing and executing a plan which involved identifying and engaging minority-owned, women-owned, and veteran-owned businesses in support of our external diversity efforts. We outlined a comprehensive plan with phases, and with our partner, Supplier IO, an internal audit was done and completed. And now we're proud to say we have visibility into our diverse spend. We're pleased to report in our first quarter spend, we had up to $44 million in diverse owned spend and $28,000 in quarterly spend in Massachusetts. Our program now is in the embedded program phase. I can tell you 2 years in, it's nice to see our diversity efforts growing externally in the supplier diversity space. And now we just hired a dedicated resources in our procurement area to solely focus on our supplier diversity plan. Thank you for your time. I'm sure you guys have questions, but you know it's always a pleasure to be here, and I'll answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Keita. Commissioners, questions, comments?
I have a comment. Keita, it's good to see you as always. I absolutely, and I say this, I feel like every meeting, I enjoy your presenting on FanDuel's diversity efforts. You really do make it such a production, and you can tell that you are being extremely intentional about the work that you do. Your passion shines, and I just want to commend you for taking on this work on behalf of FanDuel. And Rich and all your colleagues should be very proud that they have you at the helm in this space.
Thank you, Commissioner Skinner. I appreciate it. I truly love this work, and I love this company, and I really mean it.
And I can second that. You're absolutely right. We are all very proud to have Keita by our side.
Thank you. I will say that I appreciate where you're coming from on the qualitative goals. I also am a firm believer that if you don't have a goal, you'll miss it every time. And so so I'm glad to hear there's a goal. I am still not completely sold on a lack of quantitative goals, but I'm interested in the argument and appreciated the way that you presented it, at least.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioners, any other questions, Keita?
If I could, Chair Maynard, just second your comments. I didn't take what Keita was saying as an argument against the quantitative, but just maybe more of an argument to look at the qualitative as well. So I'm interested in more of what you are offering in that vein.
Okay.
I agree with Chair Maynard. I do think that we need to keep those quantitative goals because the proof really is, in a lot of ways, in the numbers.
Appreciate the comment. Thank you.
All right. If there are no other questions with respect to Keita, I can turn it over to Ashley Cahill for the next portion of the presentation.
Thank you, Rich, and thank you, Keita. Good afternoon, commissioners. Hope everyone's doing well today. I've got a handful of slides, so I'll try to be efficient and dive right in. I'll start off on the tool usage front, where we saw some increases in tool usage of core tools across the board. One driver of this was actually a couple of responsible gaming sweepstakes that we did for the first time over the spring and summer, tied to our RG ambassadors, Carly Lloyd and Tom Kim. I'll share a little bit more about that later in the presentation. But I did want to flag a topic that we'll be sharing a little bit more about in next quarter's update. A new responsible gaming tool that we recently launched called MySpend. You can see a just kind of snapshot of what that looks like on the right hand of the screen. This is a tool that really aims to help players more easily track their spend over time through a more kind of visually engaging approach with graphs showing spending patterns and giving folks the easy option to set a daily, weekly, or monthly deposit limit from there. We'll actually have a TV commercial and full 360 campaign going live to promote this new tool later this fall, and look forward to sharing it with the group, as well as some detail around what our learning plan behind this tool looks like moving forward.
So Ashley, I do have a question. And Chair, I'm going to jump in because I don't know if you can see folks. You talked about an increase in tool usage. What do you have comparative stats for last quarter to show so that we can identify, or is this reflective of the increase, what you have here, the percentages on slide?
What's in there is reflective of the increase. And I'll be honest, it was a small increase in core tools, but it was helpful for us to see, since using sweepstakes, that was a bit new for us. So it was a kind of helpful proof of concept as we think about kind of using that as a mechanism moving forward.
Okay, thank you.
But if it's helpful, I can share details around what the specific bump around tool usage looked like tied to the sweepstakes in our next update.
Oh, that would be great. But then just more generally from quarter to quarter might be helpful as well.
We can absolutely add that view in. If there, oh, thank you. On the voluntary self-exclusion front, there are 112 individuals who self-excluded in Q2. We continue to direct them to the GameSense website to learn more about the program. We can go to the next slide, please. Then I did want to mention a recent expansion to a collaboration that FanDuel announced with Kindbridge Behavioral Health earlier this year during Problem Gambling Awareness Month. Similar to BetMGM and DraftKings, we are collaborating with Kindbridge to really subsidize and promote their services relating to telehealth treatment relating to disordered gambling to players upon exclusion. In March, we announced that we would be offering this to players upon exclusion in New Jersey and Ohio. And this past summer, we've expanded the collaboration. So now we are offering access to Kindbridge to all players in all markets. So that was as of this summer. Starting in next quarter's update, we can share some kind of Massachusetts specific data as helpful. But we are, quite encouraged around this collaboration overall, knowing that it's really kind of at the moment of exclusion that we're, raising visibility around these support services, and have seen, folks who are truly utilizing them. Appreciate any kind of questions folks have them on KindBridge. Next up, apologies if I'm getting ahead of myself here by including a little bit of some Q3 news in this update, but just did kind of want to mention at a high level what some of our recent activities have looked like internally, and then a couple recent launches tied to some of our RG programs over the past couple months. During September, we really tried to have, a steady drumbeat of programming to promote RG education that really centered around a larger effort on September 12th. It's our third annual Play Well Day, which is really a day where kind of take everyone away from their day-to-day roles to really focus on the importance of RG, have our leadership team playing a big role there. We do a program that's live streamed from the New York and Atlanta offices, and then have a series of activities across the offices all day, including lived experience sessions with Epic. We have lunch and learns with our RG team to really just kind of promote some more awareness of what their engagement with customers really looks like and what the company's program looks like. We also promoted an internal program that we had launched during RGEM last September called our RG Champions program, which runs all year long. And it's really an internal recognition and rewards program where colleagues can identify someone who's kind of gone above and beyond on the RG front, give an example of it. We recognize them, we reward them with gift cards, and just kind of a nice moment for us to highlight it further in September and March. And then lastly, we did highlight our partnership with Operation Hope as well, since it's a relatively new partnership for us. So, as people continue to join FanDuel, want to make sure that folks are really clear on why we're partnering with them and how they can support. So we actually did some financial literacy kit packing activities across offices where the kits were then donated to Operation Hope to be distributed as part of their Hope Inside financial counseling program. We can go to the next slide, please. Then on the external front, really made sure that we did a bit of a heavy up around RG education in a customer-facing way. So getting consistent customer communications throughout September, promoting tool usage. Continued to have a media investment behind our RG tools campaign called The System, which launched last year. And as I mentioned before, we'll be kind of replacing the system in the market with this new campaign later this fall to promote the launch of My Spend. And then part of why I wanted to talk to you about Responsible Gaming Education Month today was because I wanted to highlight a new partnership and program that we launched recently with our new RG ambassadors. Go to the next slide, please. So I think I may have shared a little bit about this program in the past, but I was actually in late 2021 where FanDuel launched a Responsible Gaming Ambassador program with a gentleman named Craig Carton, who's a New York media personality who's a quite well-known story related to his issues with problem gambling and advocacy and recovery since. We've partnered with him over the past couple of years to really raise awareness of problem gambling, try to reduce some of the stigma that's associated with it today, see him as a really powerful partner. We've actually, in partnership with Craig and Odyssey, have gone to a handful of college campuses to really bring Craig to, share his story directly with college students to raise awareness of risks and, where to go for support. And, we've continued to kind of evolve and expand the program since launching it in 2021. We announced the addition of Carly Lloyd and PGA rising star Tom Kim to our ambassador program last year, and have started doing some kind of new things with them to really try to promote RG in a more engaging way. So new creative that includes, you can see an example on the right hand of the screen, shows some of our RG tips with Tom Kim. We paired golf tips with RG tips. We launched a couple sweepstakes. One example you can see on the screen is with Carly Lloyd, where we encouraged customers to set a gaming tool to be entered to win a chance to the Copa men's finals in Miami, and saw pretty strong engagement on that front, and really kind of using these as a learning opportunity as we think about incentives to promote responsible play. Go to the next slide, please. And as we've been thinking about how we expand and evolve this program in the right way, we began having conversations with a gentleman named Randy Livingston, who, if you're not familiar with, he's a former NBA player who does have lived experience with problem gambling. And as we started talking to Randy, we were introduced to his wife, who's an NBA agent, and we were really struck by, their passion for the topic of helping families who've been, impacted by this issue. Randy's actually not only a former NBA player, he's actually a current high school basketball coach, a very successful one. And we, really sense the passion from him as well around, how important, coaches can be, in terms of, really being aware of the risks and, any, exposure around the conversations they're having in front of kids, and just really feeling like there was an opportunity for them for impact here. If you go to the next slide, please.
Ashley?
Oh, please.
I'm sorry. When you say you've added them to the team, does that mean in ambassador capacity? Is that what you're referring to? Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yes. So we announced last month that Randy and Anita were going to become the newest ambassadors for the RG Ambassador Program. So official partners to really kind of partner with us on our advocacy efforts. And what we've done with them is a little bit different. Go to the next slide, please. Where we've actually launched a new program in partnership with Randy, Anita, and Epic Global Solutions called Trusted Voices: Conversations About Betting, which is really aimed at equipping parents and coaches with information around gambling, the associated risks, warning signs, where to go for support, and really the importance of proactive and informed conversations. This really is centered around conversationsaboutbetting.com, which is a kind of resource hub, which includes videos on some of the topics that I mentioned that were produced in collaboration with Epic, and includes a support directory of where people can go if they're looking for additional support, including NCPG, Kindbridge, access to information through RGC and other organizations. We are also working with Operation Hope to actually develop some parent-focused financial literacy resources, and are excited to kind of continue to expand the program. This is a program that we tried to be really thoughtful about our approach here to make sure that we were really focused on kind of where our opportunity for impact could be, really amplifying Randy and Anita's story, raising awareness of some of the key topics here, and directing people to third-party credible resources to learn more. Would love any feedback or questions for the group, as this is one we've run to really make sure that we're listening to key stakeholders and really driving impact in the right way.
Ashley, I can't say that I'm familiar with any of the ambassadors, but I certainly appreciate the concept, and I'm sure the impact will be tremendous in this effort. So kudos to you in getting this up and running. I believe you indicated it first got started in 2021.
The program launched in 2021, and it was really centered around Craig for a while. It's really been in the last year where we've kind of gone beyond just amplifying Craig's lived experience and now doing more around campaigns and programs. And I think really trying to get a little bit more creative around how we're engaging folks on RG through the program.
And so as of 2023, you sort of reinvented it or revamped it to include some additional folks. And my apologies if I've missed reference to the program previously, but I think it's a great initiative. So congratulations on launching that.
Oh, appreciate that. But yeah, do we encourage folks, if you have time, to check out conversationsaboutbetting.com. And truly, we're looking for feedback, good, bad, and ugly, so we can be thoughtful as we continue to evolve the program and are reaching out to different types of partners to really continue to build out the resource hub as we continue to promote the program. You can go to the next slide, please. And last up, I just have a few updates to share around our community impact efforts. This does not include kind of the full scope of everything we're doing around the country, so very happy to bring a more detailed view in next quarter's update if that's helpful. But I did want to provide an update specifically on our partnership with Operation Hope, knowing that a good portion of that is really focused on Massachusetts. As a reminder, it was earlier this year where we announced a $1 million donation to Operation Hope to expand their Hope Inside program. It's a community-focused financial counseling program free of charge to residents, to really expand it in the state of Massachusetts. So that means that there's 3 coaches that are based in Massachusetts, in New Bedford, Springfield, and Boston, who serve residents of the state, through virtual or in-person coaching. A couple of things that are new since we last shared an update on this program. Through feedback from the Mass Council on Gaming and Health, we've connected Operation Hope coaches with Game Sense advisors, and our Operation Hope coaches have provided trainings to the Game Sense advisors to really equip them with the information to make this program, folks aware that this program is an available resource through Game Sense related channels. And we are seeing some clients come in through those channels. It's been kind of a positive start in terms of the collaboration there. We will have some results to share from around the program impact in next quarter's update. I don't have them on the slides. We just kind of started getting them through over the past few weeks. But we're talking about a couple hundred clients reached so far, several hundred coaching sessions, and are starting to see positive changes around folks' credit scores, increased savings, and reductions in debt. So encouraged to continue to see more results there, and just do what we can to continue to promote the program and visibility of it. Then on a more kind of internal front, I just wanted to mention a couple of FanDuel initiatives. The first is from this past summer, where we actually launched our first employee matching program. So this is through a company called Your Cause by Blackbaud. And we are sharing with employees that FanDuel will match up to $500 per employee per calendar year in fundraising or charitable giving efforts. So we're excited to be able to, really support our employees' passions for, all of the wonderful causes that they support, and continue to promote this internally. We're also continuing to, remind folks at FanDuel that they have 2 days off a year for volunteerism efforts, and what some of the opportunities look like for them to really, use those days. And one of the opportunities actually does tie to the Operation Hope program, where they have a program called 1 Million Black Businesses, where they're supporting Black entrepreneurs around the country. And through this program for Operation Hope, kind of corporate donors, we have the opportunity to sign up for the program, share, what kind of professional skills we have, whether that may be accounting, social media marketing, finance, and then get matched with an entrepreneur who is looking for some kind of mentorship or kind of consulting support for their small business to be able to, volunteer in kind of a skills-based way. So continuing to promote that program internally, and excited to, really start hearing some of the stories of, how it's been impactful for folks. And then just the last comment I'll make, again, more to share in the next quarter's update. But we did recently have a local opportunity for FanDuel colleagues to support a kind of company-wide effort in support of 9/11 Day of Service. We're doing meal packing activities on 9/11 to really benefit local food banks around the country. And we're able to support an event in Boston and have some of our colleagues join us at that effort for the first time. But would love any questions or feedback from the group. Thank you.
Commissioners? Commissioner O'Brien?
You guys have been busy.
I was thinking the same thing. I'm glad you said it.
So yeah, keep it up. Other than Carly Lloyd, I wasn't particularly familiar with ambassadors either, but interesting to see a female RG ambassador, given sort of the split in gender on sports betting, whether you're ahead of the curve or just she's really well known. That's interesting to see.
We've definitely been thinking about kind of the various swim lanes for each ambassador to make sure, we are able to kind of authentically connect with different demographic groups. I mean, one of the things we loved about Tom was the fact that, he is 21 and he's particularly passionate about reaching, his audience as a role model and his demographic groups. So, like I said, a lot of opportunity for evolution of the program, but, we are kind of encouraged in the short term at, the engagement we're seeing.
Yeah. And I liked the positive use uptick you got on the sweepstakes. I know on the casino environment, they do that and they get a good response. So it's something for other licensees to maybe emulate.
Well, we'll make sure that we're sharing a more detailed update and some learnings there.
Right. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Brien. My college fandom is what helped me know Randy from LSU back when he played against the University of Kentucky in the SEC. So it goes to show you I prioritize the NCAA over the NBA. No offense towards the NBA or the NCAA. Just the way I grew up. Anything else?
So along my colleagues' comments, that was chock full, and I'm realizing I've realized as you continued on in the presentation that this is really your opportunity to showcase the things that you are doing in the community on behalf of your employees, in the responsible gaming space. All of those things. Can't promise that folks are running to tune into these sessions, these presentations, but it is really a good opportunity for the other side of the business to be seen. And so you take fully advantage of that, and you should continue to do that. It's a lot of great work.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
So anything else for Rich and team and Ashley and all right.
Thank you, commissioners.
Crystal, I think that we're going to go to PSI.
We are. Last but not least.
I'm so sorry. Could I just have 5 minutes?
So Commissioner O'Brien, I actually need a little more than 5 minutes.
Okay.
I was going to switch to the phone even if I needed to, but since you are asking, it makes me wonder if we should just go ahead and take a little break.
I hate to ask PSI to wait, but it has been kind of a long morning, so.
I would like to return around 1:30.
That works for me. I don't know about everybody else.
I'm fine with that.
Commissioner Hill, you good with that?
I'm fine, but I just want to make sure that PSI.
Can I please just make one quick call? Because I had a question from them earlier. So hold on one second.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, either way, I'm likely to switch to the phone. All right. Oh, Commissioner O'Brien. Connor, can you take the screen down? Do we officially leave the meeting to then have to re-enter the meeting to likely have to take a break? I'm looking at Todd.
I think we're okay to.
So let's take a 10-minute break. I will have to rejoin by phone, and I would ask my fellow commissioners to help be my eyes during that period. It will only be a short period, but I do have an obligation. I have to join by phone. But let's do around 1:10, and then reconvene. Does that work for everybody? All right, thank you. Okay, Connor, I think you can pull the screen down. See Commissioner O'Brien. All right, so this is a reconvening of the Massachusetts Gaming Commission. We're holding this meeting virtually, so we will do a roll call. Good afternoon, Commissioner O'Brien.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Commissioner Hill.
Good afternoon.
And good afternoon, Commissioner Skinner.
Good afternoon.
All right, so we will turn it back over to Manager Boschman. I know that we're going to talk to Penn Sports and let them do their quarterly update. And so with that, Crystal.
Afternoon. All right, so now we are at our last but not least operator for presentations today. I see Adam sharing his screen already, and looks like everybody else is set to go. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you, Crystal, and good afternoon, commissioners. It's good to see you all again. Today, I am joined by Armina Hassan. She is our HR director, which is a nice change of pace for me because I typically handle these presentations solo, so it's nice to have some company. But Armina today is going to be talking a little bit more in depth about our diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, programs, and goals. So I know that these meetings typically come with a lot of information, so we appreciate your patience getting through all of these. We will do our best to keep this as brief and summarize as best we can, but as always, please just feel free to interrupt or ask any questions or provide comments as you see fit, and we can always go back and answer whatever questions we haven't answered already. So I will go right into revenue before I kick it over to Armina. As you can see here, we generated $5.4 million in sports wagering revenue for the quarter, which amounted to just over $1 million in state revenue. I will leave this up briefly. If there are no questions, I will then kick it over to Armina.
Thanks, Adam. Good afternoon, commissioners. As Adam mentioned, my name is Armina Hassan. I'm the Director of HR at Penn Interactive. It is my first time presenting in front of the commission, and I'm pleased to virtually meet all of you and join alongside Adam here. Thank you for the opportunity to present our Q2 report today. I'll begin by sharing our workforce diversity numbers. On the slide here is our breakdown for minority, women, veteran, and Massachusetts resident numbers as it pertains to our larger workforce. Overall number stayed consistent. Adam, if you want to move on to that, thank you. As it's my first time joining the presentation, I thought it would be helpful to provide an overview of the framework that drives the engine for our diverse workforce. So on the left side of the slides here are our pillars that are focused on diverse representation, and on the right is how we strive for inclusion. So beginning with our recruitment partnerships, often the focus on top of funnel recruitment strategies is on volume, quality, and getting potential candidates to essentially engage with the employer. We understand that if you're not sourcing for diversity right at this stage, you're not going to see many diverse candidates flow through the interview process. So we've really created thoughtful and purpose-driven partnerships here to expand our talent pool, attract a large diverse population. These organizations that you see on the slide, like Black Professionals in Tech Network, Women Hack, HopeWorks, and Out in Tech, provide us access to networking opportunities and a variety of job boards, publications, networks, forums, and events to essentially share the company's open roles, goals, and overall message. Our recruitment process there under those pillars, we are committed to providing a fair and inclusive hiring process to ensure every candidate has equal opportunity to showcase their skill sets, abilities, values, interests, passions, and of course, their experience. Moving on to the inclusion framework on the right of the slides here, these pillars are focused on creating an inclusive environment for our diverse workforce. So ensuring that there are opportunities for meaningful connection and community in the organization, growing their career, both of which are vital to employee retention and creating sustainable representation in the organization. So under the engagement and belonging bucket here, we know that belonging is key to DEI. And one of the ways we're engaging our diverse workforce is through employee resource groups. For those that have shared identity and experiences, these groups, as you know, are driven by employees that are supported by leadership, fosters community, belonging, and the focus, is really on opportunities to engage, educate, and support our workforce. For example, Penn Women, one of our ERGs, is focused on supporting and empowering women. Their roadmap is focused on professional development opportunities and networking events. For growth and development, we know that building a diverse workforce isn't solely dependent on external recruitment. We want to create opportunities for growth and career advancement for our diverse staff. We support these efforts through both in-house learning opportunities, such as the Emerging Leaders Program, and of course, our yearly professional development funds that's available to all employees. We are committed to cultivating a highly skilled workforce that can be tapped for current and future leadership opportunities. I think those are the two slides for me. Unless there are any questions, I'll turn it back over to Adam to continue the presentation.
Questions, commissioners? You can move forward.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you for that, Armina. We appreciate the level of detail. Just rounding off the diversity spend, just to touch on vendors very quickly. We did have a pretty significant uptick in our MBE spend this quarter, or in Q2, I should say. This is attributed to a production company that we have begun using for some of our advertising initiatives. But overall, you could see a pretty steady increase in spend for total diversity spend over the last 18 months or so. Moving on to compliance, we'll just start with the underage activity. We had one attempt that we discovered in the quarter, which is consistent with our previous quarter. As you can see here, we do show a pretty steady decline in these incidents that we are identifying. So just some information to share on that. Moving to the RG section, this slide here is just really a high-level summary and a small portion of the data that we do send Mark and Long and their team on a monthly basis. Just highlighting here that 63 individuals on our platform were identified on the voluntary self-exclusion list. Also wanted to highlight the 4.6% of all Massachusetts accounts that are utilizing at least one RG tool. And as you can see at the very bottom right, it looks like the overwhelming majority of individuals using our timeout cool-off are using it for 6 months or longer. I did note in the previous presentation that the commission would be interested in sort of seeing how that trends over time, if there's an increase or decrease. So I will certainly take that back if we can present some of the tool usage in a more linear manner over time so that you can see the trending over a larger period of time. So I did note that on the previous presentation. If there's nothing else, we will go into the lottery. We are pleased to share that we continue to leverage our existing and promotion that we have joint effort with the Massachusetts Lottery and our property at PPC. We've done this for quite some time, where we notify our online customers and present them offers to come and redeem free lottery tickets at our property at PPC. So we are pleased to share that we continue to use this ongoing promotional tool, and we will definitely look forward to continuing that and expanding on that in the future. But all things have been fairly steady on that front for quite some time. Last section here, the community outreach and charitable impacts. We did want to start by saying that we were pleased to make a donation to the Literacy Project back in June 2024. The Literacy Project is a nonprofit organization that provides basic adult education programs for individuals in Massachusetts, including those in Greenfield, which is near our Penn Game Studios office in Massachusetts. In connection with Earth Day in April, we ran internal workshops to educate our workforce on sustainability and urban conservation practices. Additionally, interactive members also participated in riverfront cleanups, as well as the revitalization of community baseball fields. And then lastly here, in connection with Memorial Day, we participated in a canned goods drive and ruck march with the Travis Manion Foundation. This foundation provides assistance to veterans and their families, and Interactive Division is also proud to say that we've made a monetary donation to this foundation in the quarter. going to briefly throw it back to Armina just to touch on some of the events that we did in the quarter that touch on celebrating diversity.
Thanks, Adam. In May, we celebrated Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. So API, if most of you may know it as, in-office events, including food fairs and some cultural learning opportunities. In June, we held Pride events across our office to recognize and celebrate our LGBTQ plus team members and hosted an educational session in partnership with You Can Play. You Can Play is an organization that works on sports and athletes inclusion. And of course, throughout the quarter, we recognized and educated our workforce on many days of religious and cultural observances such as Ramadan, Eid, Passover, Juneteenth, Indigenous Peoples Day, and more.
Thanks, Armina. And then lastly, to round off this section here, during the quarter, our team attended various networking and recruiting events with several of our partner organizations. These organizations include the Black Professionals in Tech Network, Outgeek Women, Women Hack, Diverse to Tech, HopeWorks, and Launch UTSC. That brings us to the end of our prepared material. Happy to answer any questions. And you also have Armina here if you'd like to touch on any of the topics that she brought up today. But other than that, that draws the conclusion of our prepared material.
Thank you. Commissioners, do we have any questions?
No questions. I'd just like to take the opportunity to welcome Armina to the virtual room. It's good to see you.
Thanks, Commissioner.
Okay. Oh, we thank you for your time and look forward to the next quarter. Thanks, everybody.
Cool.
Thank you. I think that that's the end for the quarterly presentations. I don't know if Gary has anything to add, but that's it from me.
All right, that sounds good. Well, thank you to the Sports Wagering Division. Thank you to everyone that joined us for those quarterly reports. It was extremely helpful. With that said, I believe we are now going to turn it over to the IEB and the CEC's office for the next item on the agenda.
Good afternoon. I don't know if Caitlin's on, but I'm here on behalf of the IEB, Nathaniel Kennedy. We're here this afternoon to present a series of sports wagering non-compliance events by Category 3 sports wagering licensee BetMGM. You may recall that back some time ago, I believe February, the IEB had presented two matters to the commission, one involving improper wagers on player propositions in NCAA football, and then also a second non-compliance event that involved penalty cards placed in soccer markets. Those were both presented to the commission and sent to the IEB for full investigation for an adjudicatory hearing where we will act as a party. Subsequent to our investigation, BetMGM hired GLI to conduct a full audit of their platform to determine if there were any other impermissible markets being offered. As a result of that, we received information in June that they had in fact offered wagers on Belarusian leagues. That was presented to the commission on August 1st and sent back to the IEB. Now we were informed in August of 3 additional non-compliance events that we're here to present today. I wanted to give that background so that you can understand the totality in which we're dealing with the BetMGM non-compliance events. Here we have, I'm
sorry to interrupt you.
Yes.
The 3 additional non-compliance matters, were they discovered outside of the GLI audit process?
So the first 3 that I just mentioned, yes, they were the penalty card market was discovered by our sports wagering division. The player prop market was also referred to us via our sports wagering division. And then the Belarusian non-compliance event was discovered as an initial part of the audit conducted in response to those 2 first non-compliance events. So that was self-reported. Now, these 3 additional that we'll be presenting today were all self-reported as part of that ongoing audit of BetMGM's platform.
Okay, thank you.
So the first that I'm here to present is actually just an addition to the player prop violation that CEC Kramer is currently investigating. That they revealed to us that there were 41 additional wagers identified on those player props in violation of Mass General Law, Chapter 23N, Section 3, and 205 CMR 257.01.2A2. So those additional player props bring us to a total of 15,482 total wagers that were made in violation of that statute and regulation. The third is a 13-player proposition wagers on 2 men's NCAA basketball. It was called a National Invitation Tournament. There were 13 wagers placed for a total stake of $469.10. That's in violation, again, of Mass General Law, Chapter 23N, Section 3, and 205 CMR 257.01.2A2. The next violation is a 12-player proposition wager on 2 NCAA Women's Elite 8 basketball games. That's also in violation of 23N, Section 3, 205 CMR 257.01.2A2. And that is 12 wagers at a total amount of $208.34. And then finally, we have 106 wagers placed on a Glory kickboxing event that occurred between June 17, 2023 and June 8, 2024. Violation of 205 CMR 247.011 and 205 CMR 247.012 small I, as well as the Massachusetts Sports Wagering Catalog. That was 106 wagers for a total of $576.82. What we're looking for is guidance from the commission, obviously, on these additional wagers or non-compliance events, but more so if the commission would like us to incorporate these new violations into the already existing investigation that's taking place on those original non-compliance events that I had discussed at the outset.
Commissioners,
Mr.
how do
Chairman?
we proceed?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Hill?
I would be fine having them all together and being investigated as one and coming before us at the adjudicatory hearing instead of having numerous adjudicatory hearings. That would, I think, be the most proper thing for us to do.
I think that would be my preference too. Commissioner O'Brien, Commissioner Skinner?
Yeah, I would agree.
I would agree as
Continue to
well.
function as Sorry, Commissioner Skinner.
O'Brien, no, go ahead. Sorry about that.
No, just saying in functioning in the same capacity as a party.
Yeah, I would agree. These subsequent non-compliance events flow from, as I understand it, the initial non-compliance event, which led to an audit by GLI. And so to me, it's all, we can take them all together. And I do agree that we should treat these as incidents or roll them into the matter as we have already designated, which is that IAB to proceed as a party.
Now, just for clarification purposes, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, the Belarusian violation had not been incorporated previously into the greater investigation that was occurring on those first two. So I just want to make sure we're clear that that will also be included as part of the greater investigation.
That's how I would understand it.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question? Was that discovered as a result of the audit, or is that something completely unrelated to the initial incident and the audit?
It was discovered as part of the audit, but it was discovered in the early stages of the audit process. So it was disclosed to us prior in time to these now additional three that I've described today.
Yeah, that's the driving factor for me, is that these are all connected to that sort of initial incident, which again prompted the audit.
Thank you.
So do you have your marching orders?
I do. I appreciate that very much. Thank you, Commission, and thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So before we go on to the next topic, I would ask that we just do a quick 5-minute break. Let me get settled, and we will move on and close out the meeting, I believe, from there. So can we just reconvene around 5 minutes, 1:37 or so? Does that work for everyone?
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, Connor, I think we can take down the screen.
All right, good to go.
All right, this is a reconvening of the Massachusetts Gaming Commission. We are holding this meeting virtually, so we will do a roll call. Good afternoon, Commissioner O'Brien.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Commissioner Hill.
Good afternoon.
And good afternoon, Commissioner Skinner.
Good afternoon.
So we just finished a conversation with the IEB and our sports wagering division had our licensees on to present their quarterlies. We are now on item number 4. But before we take that on, it's about security at the casino facilities. We do plan on not reconvening in the public session, so I wanted to check and see if there were any commissioner updates. All right, I'm seeing none. Any other business? All right. So with that, let me go ahead and read some language into the record, and if the commission so chooses, we can vote to go into executive session. The commission anticipates that it will meet in executive session in accordance with General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A4, Chapter 30A, Section 21A7, and General Law, Chapter 23K, Section 21A7, and 205 CMR 139.02 to discuss the use and deployment of security personnel or other or devices or strategies with respect thereto, specifically with regard to firearms security at Encore Boston Harbor and Plainridge Park Casino, and to discuss the response to the Commission's internal control related directive submitted by Encore Boston Harbor and Plainridge Park Casino related to the same subject matter. The public session of the Commission meeting will not reconvene at the conclusion of the executive session. With that, Commissioners, do we want to enter into executive session for this matter?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Hill.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Skinner. Commissioner O'Brien.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Commissioner Skinner.
Aye.
And I vote yes 4-0. So we will not reconvene, and I hope everyone has a good day. Are we going to be automatically moved, Connor, or are we going to have to enter another link?
No, I will invite you. It'll be this meeting.
All right. Thank you.
Just one other thing, Mr. Chair. I think we're going to want to invite the operators in separately, given the content we'll be talking about. So we'll want to do maybe Encore and then PPC.
Yeah, Todd, I think we got that. I don't know that we had a list, so we might need to be helped a little bit, but we're on it.
Okay, so let's make sure Encore gets the first round of invitations, and if someone can from the IEB can let Mills know, that will be helpful.
I will open the room now.
Thank you.